Welcome to The Drive with your automotive experts and hosts, Lauren Fix and Karl Brauer. Each week we deliver the latest breaking news, vehicle reviews, and inside look at what's happening in the automotive world. Buckle up, it's time to hit the road with The Drive.
Welcome to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. We are back for another great episode talking about all sorts of interesting things across the car industry. And as always, we try to have fun and interesting guests to add to the discussion. And we've got another one this week. We have got Paul Fix III joining us in this show. So first, let's introduce our official co-host and lovely Lauren Fix. How are you doing this week, Lauren?
I'm great, Karl. Yeah, lots going on. We were just in Europe, and then I went to the Amelia Island Car Show and all the auctions, and we're going to cover that plus more on today's show.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. We've got a lot to cover, and we're going to have some help from Paul Fix III. Paul, you are the producer for Car Coach Reports and for this other show that you might have heard of called The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Paul helps us produce this show, thankfully. We could not do it without him, and we are very fortunate to have his skills to put it all together, both for our audio, but even more so for our video channel that you're hopefully watching right now. You can see our lovely faces. And Paul's also got a lot of interesting car background, but I've talked enough. Paul, why don't you tell us about yourself? You're going to have even better information than I have.
Thank you so much for having me. It's fun watching you guys for the last however many episodes, and now I get to lend my voice. But this is not the first time that I've been on radio or on video, because back when I was 17 years old, and I thought that Top Gear was the coolest thing ever, I reviewed a Volkswagen Passat CC for Car Coach Reports back when it was just the Lauren Fix channel. And it was one of our most successful videos ever. Which
I'm still learning, apparently.
I guess, I did one and that was it. I should know, but I came back and...
You've done quite a few reviews. Yeah. And he also fills in for me at Car Coach Reports when we're on NTD News or any of my multiple outlets. So it's good to have a backup because Karl and I travel a lot.
Yes, no, it's nice to have someone you can lean on because as you and I both know, Lauren, when they call and they're like, I need this at this point in time. And it's like, if you're available, that's great. If you aren't, there's kind of not much you can do. I'm on a plane, I'm in a meeting, I can't do it then. And if you have a secondary person, you can say, hey, can you help me out here, please? That's really helpful.
Yep.
Yeah, she's been preparing me for 15 years for this moment. So
well, you've done a lot of things. Paul's been on national television with me, and he's been doing a lot of stuff in front of the camera, but also behind the camera. So the thing is, when you need someone who understands what Karl and I are talking about, who's able to explain to us maybe some of the SEO and some of the cool social media stuff. Like Karl goes to his son, I go to mine.
Yeah, I know. They're more tuned in, let's be honest, Lauren, to that stuff. They're half or less our age, and surprise, surprise, they've got a better perspective on recent technology than we do. We weren't too scared by VCRs, but our parents were like, what is that thing doing? So
which is funny. Because now we're all scared by all the technology in cars. I'm scared.
Well, sadly, I think we should all, no matter what our age is, be scared right now of some of the technology in cars. That's the sad thing. But Paul, tell me some background on car stuff. And by the way, I know one cool story. We know how much of a car guy you are because you were technically racing before you were breathing on your own, weren't you? You were in a racing car before you were visible to the rest of the world.
Thank you so much for mentioning that. This is one of my favorite stories.
Yeah, tell us that.
So Lauren, my mother, she was racing at the time a 1993, and she was racing a Cobra 289 Cobra,
a 63 Cobra,
in 1963 Cobra in vintage racing, and she was pregnant. I was born a couple of months later, but this was the last race. She had a lot of friends. Everybody knew, hey, we have irreplaceable cars. I'm not going to hit you. You're not going to hit me. Everybody's going to be very, very well behaved.
Right.
Well, the local news found out, which was, I think it was ESPN, or was it Speed at the time?
It was ESPN. They were calling themselves the Deuce, which was ESPN too.
I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, so they had overheard her saying that she was pregnant. Oh, bring the cameras over. We have to interview her. And
pregnant racer.
unfortunately,
I
the
love it.
car didn't make it to the end of the race, and the tagline that they went with was was the car bucking and kicking, or was the baby?
But the
That's a
better
good
part of
one.
the story is they came up to me afterwards, the people running the race series, and said, "You can't race while pregnant." And I said, "Where does it say it in the general competition rules?" And they said it will on Monday because it was Labor Day weekend. Paul was born in December, so you can do the math pretty easily. I was
Yeah.
pretty far along,
I
but there
love
was
that.
no rules, you know.
You were Ken Miles and Shelby in Ford versus Ferrari. We read your damn rule book. It doesn't say nothing about racing pregnant.
Yes, exactly. So the guy who ran our race team in Trans Am Series, my husband runs in the Trans Am Series, a guy named Tony Abe was on the competition board. And I asked him, "Do you remember who that was?" He goes, "No, I know there was an emergency meeting. We had to put the rule in place." And I said, "Do you know who that girl was?" He said, "I do not." I said, "It was me." And I think I blew him away, kind of knocked him over with a feather because of me, there is a rule in the rule book. You cannot race while pregnant. But the best part of the story was last year, Paul.
Yeah, I was there too. Tell us about that.
There was this great show. If you've ever heard of it before, the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance. So it was the anniversary of the 427 Cobra, which is the big brother to the 289 that Lauren was racing. And it just so happened to be that the exact car that she raced with when she was pregnant with me was sitting there on the show field. And neither of us even knew because it had been repainted back to the original spec before they owned it. And so I'm looking at all of the VINs. I'm talking with my dad about all
The
this
number on
because
the
he's
car
also a
that
big
says what it
fan
is, yeah.
on Cobras,
Yeah.
of Cobras. And I go, "Hey, Mom, the car is here." She's like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "It's right there." So we got to see 32 years later the same car. We got a picture with it, and it came all full circle.
It was,
That's
and you
so
weren't even
fabulous.
supposed to be at that event. And my husband was supposed to go with me, and unfortunately, he couldn't make it last second. So he said, "Bring Paulie." So because we have a lot of Pauls in my family, he is Paulie to us. And so Paul and I went out there, and it was really cool that 32 years later we were able to see the car that you raced in because we had sold it by the time you were born.
That's so cool. All right, well, we're going to take a quick break, but as you can see, we've got lots of great stories to share with this trio here. So we will be right back after this quick break on The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl and our special guest, Paul Fix. We're going to be talking about show winners, but first we're going to talk about this segment, which is brought to you by iSeeCars.com. That happens to be where I'm executive analyst. And the site has not just all the car listings that you can browse through and try to figure out your next car, new or used, and look at whatever distance and price and fuel efficiency and brands and everything else that you want to filter on, but also a lot of great analysis and industry analytics about what's going on in the market. So, not just what cars you can buy, but maybe what car you should buy based on what's happening in the marketplace. Let's talk, guys, about the fact that there were some interesting winners at this year's Amelia, and you were there in person. I was not. So let's jump into what cars won which categories.
Go for it, Paul.
Sure. So there's two different categories. You have a Concours d'Elegance, which is a concourse of elegance. It's essentially these beautifully preserved cars that have stood the test of time or been freshly restored down to the nuts and bolts. And the attention to detail on these cars are incredible. If you've never been to a Concours d'Elegance, a concourse, it's not like going to a cars and coffee event at your local mall or ice cream shop. This is the best of the best, rarest cars in the world at the pinnacle of someone's ability to make them perfect as if they were brand new. So for the Concours d'Elegance, we have a pre-war, meaning pre-World War II, the 1931 Duesenberg Model J taper tail speedster. Absolutely gorgeous. And I
Gorgeous.
wish I knew more about these cars.
It is certainly a specialty type of car. These are the cars where somebody had the money back in 1931 after the stock market crash, was probably someone oil or a shipping magnate, something like that, and they wanted something custom for their colors, for their style, and that's the way they used to build elegant cars, unlike today's Cadillacs, Mercedes, etc. So it would be something of that high level.
Called coach built, right? That's
yeah,
that's the reference.
Correct.
Fully bespoke. I mean, these cars were made for the buyer. There are some that you could just buy from the manufacturer like that, but you can imagine going in and saying like, yes, I want my suit cut like this, but I want my car cut like this, and it's the same thing.
Right.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. So, but the one thing that the Amelia does that's different is they also have race cars, and in this case, sport cars. So I was a judge of the Can-Am winning class with a very famous racer. If you follow racing, and especially back into the late '90s and into the 2000s, Tommy Kendall. He and I judged the Can-Am class, and this is the first time in my judging there. I've judged there for many years, but the first time we had a car that actually was capable of winning overall. So I was really pleased. So the winning car is the 1960, it was a 69 McLaren owned by Bruce McLaren. Now, if you follow F1 today, you've seen McLaren in papaya orange cars. You see, Lando Norris and Piastri, Oscar Piastri. They're racing for those brands now, but this is cars from 1969. This car won 6 of 7. It was a very significant car, and it was really flawless. It was quite impressive.
Yeah.
These McLarens are iconic for Can-Am. They are the craziest. This racing series was really nuts. It was the most wild aerodynamics, the most horsepower you've ever seen. They were incredibly difficult to drive, and they've made beautiful pieces like this come out of them.
Yeah, it's really amazing. And you know that there was all this great engineering going on. Of course, we won't get into it. We don't have time, but there was the car that had like the fans on it, remember, that would actually suck it down on. And that thing had to get outlawed because it gave it downforce, not just from the aero, but from fans inside the vehicle that faced downward and pulled it down and all. But we're going to talk some more about Amelia because not only were they great show cars, but there were also great auctions and some amazing prices paid. So we're going to come right back with The Drive with Lauren and Karl after this break.
Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. This segment is brought to you by Car Coach Reports. We cut through the noise. That's my news channel where we give you real car news, no spin. And you can watch that on YouTube at Car Coach Reports. My car reviews are on Car Smarts. Get the facts before you buy. So we've been talking about the Amelia with Karl, of course, and Paul Fix III, my son. But he's more than just my son. He's a true car enthusiast and also a racer himself. But we went to the car auctions and we had a ton of fun. And the fun part is to watch other people spend a lot of money.
So there was 2 auctions there. We had the Gooding Christie's auction, and we had Brauer, which is owned by Haggerty. And there were millions and millions and millions of dollars changing hands. And we had some record-breaking sales as well. So just to give you a brief overview so that everybody listening can get an idea of how much money is going around.
Crazy.
You have a 1960 Ferrari 250 GT short wheelbase California Spider, because the names aren't long enough, for $16.5 million. 1951 Ferrari 212 Export Spider for $3.4 million. And lots of Ferraris over at Gooding's. Even a Lamborghini,
about that
Miura
Lamborghini
for
Miura?
Yeah, $2.5 million. And the Lamborghini was incredible. We were ogling that.
It's a Miura SV, set a record at $6.7 million. We love to watch other people spend a lot of money.
Yes, we do.
Well, and I had seen these results and I was shocked that the 2003 Ferrari Enzo, which I remember very clearly when that car was out, it was basically a direct competitor, or at least a contemporary competitor to the Ford GT, the 2005, 2006 Ford GT. And this one went for $15,185,000 for a Ferrari Enzo. Now, very special car, pre-hybrid tech, pre-electric tech, I think that helps a lot. And if I'm not mistaken, they made 399 of these, I want to say. The number was somewhere in that range. Mm-hmm. But I was surprised at the number. But as you pointed out to me, Paul, this one had, was it 451 miles were on it?
Yeah, pretty much nothing. They breathed on it and it got a couple miles. It was the second best selling car of the weekend, aside from the Ferrari I just mentioned before. But interesting that you mentioned the Ford GT, because the second best selling car at Broad Arrow, so the Ferrari Enzo was at Broad Arrow, and the second best selling car was a Porsche Carrera GT for $6.7 million.
Crazy money.
So much money flying around. And we were discussing during the break that I believe that people are starting to figure out that cars are a good investment for the billionaires of the world that need to find places to put their money. They're finally starting to jack up the prices.
No, I think you're right.
Fun things.
Yeah, the crypto thing I think has gotten some people nervous. Even the dollar, the U.S. dollar, and all that. So I think people are looking for hard assets. That's why we've seen precious metals go up, and then another hard asset that can withstand when the dollar starts to fall are cars.
When they auction, it's not like you watch Meekum online. We've had people from Meekum where they're like, hey, bidder, bidder, bidder. What you're getting is more like, do we have $16 million? It's all this slow cadence, and then they'll be like, oh, we have 185,000. I mean, they're splitting hairs over, $180,000, which I find hysterical because like the average home doesn't cost that much. But this, you're talking about people with this kind of money who are huge investors. And these cars do end up coming back to auction in some cases. We know some people that do purchase these cars. We are not those buyers, but not Carl. You're not buying some sort of high-end Mercedes Gullwing.
No, I'm more like a bring a trailer, 2002 BMW 330 Ci convertible for $9,500 and be
Now
like,
we're
woo, that was a score.
That's
Not a
more
bad
my
pick.
style too. I like cars that you can actually drive and enjoy. But it's fun to
Exactly.
watch these cars to see what people are doing with them. And I think part of the fun that, Paul and I walked around with the rest of the family was to see these cars that you don't get to see very often.
Yeah, and I think this also kind of speaks to what is going to be on the show field in 20 years or 30
Yeah.
years from now. It's going to be these cars. These are
Yeah.
the irreplaceable Ferraris that are now on the show field. And you look at a row of, well, this is all the Ferrari competition cars. That's this class of cars. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, there's hundreds of millions of dollars sitting in front of me. Well,
Mhm.
I think this is the next generation. All these cars that we're talking about here, the 2005 supercars, the 90s supercars, or
Mhm.
just the really rare homologation cars. I saw all sorts of fun stuff.
JDM cars,
Yeah,
which are
JDM, I
Japanese
think Japanese
performance.
Yeah.
domestic import, I think may be the next investment point. There have been some very high selling numbers, and they're starting to show up on the show field as well.
And
Yeah.
we also
Ben.
saw a guy who's out of the close to the Buffalo area, a couple hours away, who had passed away, and these cars were sitting in a barn below where the cows would sit. So think about, don't even go there. But these cars were Ferraris, and one was one of two cars that needed a full restoration. So sometimes you see cars at these auctions, especially at Goodings, where they have a car that needs a restoration. We've seen some impressive cars. You got to be able to afford the car first, and then the restoration, which is not a $50,000 restoration in a car like that.
So you don't take it to Mako probably at that point though.
No, these have to be done by specialists.
I'll paint any car for 99. Yeah. Well, I think it's really fascinating. I'm glad you guys were there. I couldn't make it. I still need to get to Amelia. I've never been there, but I hear nothing but great things. And you guys are two authoritative people who have very close relations to it. And the fact that you're having so much fun means I just have to get out there. So,
It's
all right,
very
we are going to
different
take.
than Pebble Beach for sure.
It is. I've been to that, literally 15, 20 times, but never Amelia. So we're going to take a quick break. We will be back after this short break with more on The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. And what we are going to look at next is a very cool interview that Lauren was able to do with Jens Miner. Now, Jens runs a lot of cool things in the automotive industry, including World Car of the Year, which is a jury that picks the best car from across the planet. And Lauren and I are both on it. It also has, Jens also runs the car design event every year in Germany, outside of Munich. And it has all these great new designs and all these great car designers from across the industry. And they talk about everything related to car design, which is really interesting right now because what's going on across the industry. So we're going to take a quick listen and look, if you're watching on YouTube, at the car design event that Lauren attended and talked to Jens Miners, who runs it.
We're here in Munich, Germany at a very special event. This is the car design. It's an expo, in my opinion, because there's so much, but it's really an event. And Jens Miner, you are one of the founders of this event.
Correct.
And we know each other from the World Car of the Year jury, and cars. And I wanted you to tell us about this event, because it's actually a really unique event about what's coming down the road, what people are going to see, including this unique vehicle behind us, which is a Skoda, which we don't sell in North America. So that's why we're sitting in front of it, because I want you to see some of the cool design.
Exactly. Thank you, Lauren. I'm very glad you made the trip over here.
Yeah.
Fourth edition of the car design event.
Yes.
First one where we have the honor of your presence, and it's fantastic. We have basically created this event a few years ago as a spin-off of a big driving event we did. We always had a design component, and then we were encouraged by a couple of the top designers to actually do a separate design event focusing on concept cars, on future trends, and basically bringing the community together. And by community, I mean car designers.
Yeah.
I mean journalists.
From all over the world.
All over the world, exactly. We're bringing people in from everywhere. We've had guests here from India, from Israel, from the United States, Japan. So it's a truly international event. So far, we have done every edition. This is the fourth one, every edition in Munich, but we will branch out internationally. And I think we're looking at an event in the United States in the not too distant future.
Wow.
But it's a bit too early to give the details, but it'll be good.
We'll be covering it for sure.
Absolutely. We think the vibe in the US is really good right now for the automotive industry. And yes, we like to take a look forward at industry trends, at the people in the industry. This is really a time of transformation.
For sure. Huge changes.
In a good way, yes.
In North America, greenhouse gas ruling is gone.
Exactly.
And because of that, all the cars that started to look the same no longer do. And you can see that here at this event. Spectacular product. And
Correct.
if this is what's coming down the line, I think people are going to be excited.
Absolutely right. So we had, of course, a kind of forced transformation to e-mobility, which is off the table in the United States, which was always looked at, more rationally in Asia and the Asian markets,
Right.
and which was furiously promoted in Europe. And now we're at this point where the customer is not on board, where the car makers are slowly walking back, and where politicians kind of need a face-saving solution to get off this. This is very,
Right.
very interesting. It affects car design, obviously.
Right. Government cannot regulate what you buy, and you've said that multiple times on
Yes.
all my outlets. And I think that's really important, because what you're seeing now is car manufacturers, and there's a lot of movement too. Designers going to different brands.
Exactly.
You see German designers at Italian brands, and Italian designers at American brands, and
Yes.
all of that's making for some exciting product.
Exactly. That's another transformation, or it's more generational change that we're seeing right now. We have new chief designers, a new era at several car makers. We see kind of a boldness coming back to car design. We have a change of guard at Mercedes-Benz. Gordon Wagener
Yes.
left after a long tenure, and after something like 3 decades at the brand, almost 20 years, I think, around 20 years as a chief designer. We have a new chief designer now for a little over a year at Audi, Massimo Frascella, great
Right.
guy who was here last night.
Right.
And is making a huge splash with the Concept C and further cars to come. We have a new chief designer at Porsche
Yes.
and Volkswagen, Michael Mauer left.
That's going to be interesting.
Exactly.
Don't change the 911.
They won't. The 911 is the backbone, and 911 and the Cayenne are the moneymakers. I'm talking about the conventionally powered Cayenne, of course.
Right, and then there's a 3-row full-size Porsche coming that's
Exactly.
bigger than a Cayenne, and there's a lot of competition in that category. I'm expecting Hyundai to have the GV90 coming out soon, and that's your friend Luke, who's
Yes.
one of the designers for Genesis, also with Hyundai.
Yes,
Big
and
changes there too.
Big changes and also new technological approaches. A few years ago, it seemed like they would all be electric, but now the GV90, which is kind of an evolution of the Neo-Loon concept that we've seen in New York
Yes,
a while
beautiful.
ago.
Yes.
That is now getting a range extender option, you can probably expect a big range extender. And the Porsche concept,
The
that
K1.
has switched. That is going to be a car with an internal combustion engine, maybe plug-in hybridization at most.
Maybe, yeah.
You
It
know?
depends what the customer wants. You get to call the shots.
Yeah.
And I think they finally realized that. A lot of people want hybrid.
Exactly. Audi is thinking about and working on a Q9, and that's going to be technology open. We call it technology openness
There'll be
again.
a lot of familiarity because Volkswagen Group owns not just Lamborghini, but also Audi and Volkswagen and other brands,
Audi,
including
VW,
Skoda.
Bentley,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. But they do a really good job at differentiation, I think.
Oh, absolutely. But you can see there are some components that are shared, and that's
Sure.
part of what the whole partnership is. It cuts costs and allows for that technology to grow.
Exactly, we're seeing that everywhere. But VW was kind of a pioneer of that concept,
Yeah.
of course. Started maybe 20 years ago with, and they did it in a smart way. You know, you had badge engineering in the US in the 80s.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the famous A-body and X-body, etc.
And Volkswagen brought a vehicle here as well.
They did. The ID Polo.
Yes.
That is a car that tries to make e-mobility affordable, finally affordable, because electric cars are, starting in the 25k range, 30k with very low mileage, etc. The ID Polo is going to be far more affordable. Battery technology is getting better. But to make these cars interesting and appealing, they are using retro elements. In the case of the ID Polo, it's the interior.
Right.
They take the instrumentation of like an early 80s Golf and Polo, and project that basically on a screen. And I think that's going to work. And you see the same.
It'll work because I see that same of changing the screens to look more vintage. Ford did that with the Mustang, and everybody loved it.
Very much. Renault 5, you know.
Yeah,
same thing.
I think that's part of what people want, that feeling of a car they owned.
Yes.
And something they lusted after.
Yeah.
But
the only thing is, it's a good idea to maybe they can take a page from Stellantis, where every car now is launched as an electric, and a half year later, quietly a hybrid variant is
and then
follows
soon a
up.
Hemi. Yes, we're seeing that too.
In case of the Fiat Panda, first came the electric, then the mild hybrid. Now the last one is a manual transmission, non-hybridized version, and a four-wheel drive is going to follow. So.
Right, because that's what consumers asked for.
Exactly.
And so this is what you're seeing is this unique technology with lighting, with design, making it more aerodynamic, better fuel economy, hybrid technology.
Yes.
And I think bringing the designers in and letting them talk to the journalists, and there was only a couple people here from the U.S., so I feel honored to be invited.
Sure. Yeah.
But it's great to see what Hyundai is bringing, what Volkswagen is bringing, and we may not see it all in the U.S., much like you won't see a Skoda, but we're supposed to get Cupra, which is a new line that's going to be coming in a couple of years. So I think that what you see here is what you're going to be seeing in the future, especially from Mercedes-Benz, that you let the designers kind of do what they want, and I think you get some pretty cool looking cars.
Absolutely. Mercedes-Benz is interesting. Gordon Wagner really brought back the big vertical grille.
Yes.
The star mounted on the hood. That's something he always put emphasis on.
That is Mercedes-Benz. Instead of a gigantic logo on the front of your grille that hides all your safety features. Yeah.
You know, the marketing people go for the star in the center because it looks sporty. It's AMG.
Right.
Personally, and the designers think the same way. You have a hood-mounted star. It's like, which brand could get away with that anymore? It would be kind of a joke unless it's Mercedes. You know, if Lincoln did that or
even
Genesis.
Rolls-Royce hides theirs when it takes off.
That's a big, it goes down, but it's,
Right.
I think when you try to break it off, right?
Right. But hopefully they won't be doing that with
Yes.
Mercedes, but Mercedes-Benz, as they like to call it, the full name. But I mean, overall, I think what's nice is the exercise of getting to see what the designers are thinking. And this is what you're going to be seeing on the streets. Maybe not today.
Yes.
But in a couple of years, we're already hearing these are like 27s. We saw some technology from Gentex that's going to help you with the bright lights on the street. All of that technology is nice to see that's coming pretty quick.
Absolutely. It's incredible what we're seeing here. A huge emphasis on color trim materials, UI UX. You know, there's so much you can do. Make digital cars, digital screens look premium. That's a huge challenge. Size of the screens, that's not even clear where we're going. You know, for a while.
People want knobs. They're all going back to,
People
I
want
want
knobs.
knobs, especially for volume.
Exactly. VW went back at great cost.
Well,
from the sensor buttons to the knobs.
I had an issue with that because you have to go 3 layers deep into a screen to change the climate control. It should be easy access because that's what consumers adjust a lot. A lot of drivers do.
You know, for a while it was like the screens kept getting bigger. You know, look at the Mercedes Hyper screen,
Yeah.
or the rear screen in the BMW 7 Series.
It was like it was a whole cinema.
But then you look at the Bugatti, for instance, the Tourbillon, one of the most expensive cars out there.
Beautiful.
It has a tiny screen that they want you to hide too. It's the size of an iPhone, and you're supposed to hide it. You know,
Right.
If you insist, you can put your nav on there, but everything else is a wonderful simulation of an analog like watch or something.
Yeah.
So I think the new premium or luxury is not an ever bigger screen, but it's the reduction again, authenticity.
Wow.
You know?
So lots of changes coming in the future. Lots of cool designs. You'll be seeing a lot of changes on the dealer lots. So if you don't see what you like, don't worry. What's coming is something you're going to want for sure.
Absolutely. The diversity is amazing.
Well, thank you, Jens. We appreciate you
Lauren.
having us out. This is exciting. There'll be lots more coverage as these vehicles come to market. But in the meantime, you can check this out on our website, which is the Drive Car Show. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. This segment is brought to you by Issy Tire Socks. If you're slipping on ice, put on Issy Tire Socks, just like a pair of socks, and go. No stress, no fuss, just traction that works. Available now on Amazon and Walmart. It's Issy Tire Socks. Check it out. They're really cool. It's ISSE, really Issy. And they do work. I've tested them out in Buffalo. They're pretty cool. All right, so we've been talking about car shows, and I think a lot of people don't understand why they're important. And not just like you're a local car show, but when you're talking about these beautiful Concours d'Elegance, I probably said it wrong because Paul speaks French. I'll let you take it from here, Paul.
I won't embarrass myself by trying to speak actual French, but there's something to be said about taking the most beautiful, incredible cars in the world, some of the rarest pieces that you've never heard of, that you've never even had the opportunity to see. And this is the place where you can do them. There are concours all over the world. So wherever you're listening, there's probably a concours at your major city. A couple that I can list just off the top of my head would be the Amelia Concours, which we discussed earlier in the show, the Pebble Beach Concours, which is in California, which we also mentioned, and the Greenwich Concours in Connecticut. But there are many, many more. These are opportunities for people to bring out their absolutely perfect cars, or darn near perfect, because it takes a lot of money, time, effort, and research to even get the cars close to being what they were when they rolled off the factory floor in whatever year they were produced.
And I think what's important being a judge, and I'm sure Karl has judged events as well, is a lot of times people are like, well, why do you need a judge? Why can't you just have someone like Karl look at the car and go, yeah, I like that one? Which there are popular votes like that. But the concours, there's a couple different types. There's ones where they look at every nut and bolt and every color and tint to make sure it's perfect. We do that with the Shelby Club. I've judged for the Corvette Club. I mean, the Jaguar Club. Everyone gets really, really particular. And then there's ones that how they make you feel. And I think this is more of those. Is it correct? Is it accurate? What's its history? And how does it make you feel? And I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, and it's fascinating because, like, when you go to the Concours, the Pebble Beach Concours, which I've gone to 15, 20 times, you see this kind of team of people, and they're these experts on these vehicles, like you're saying, Lauren and Paul. They've got to like dig into the car, and it's not just is the paint nice, or do all the panels line up and all. It's like, what was this car originally built with? Where was this marking on the car? Where was this strap that held the luggage in the luggage compartment? Where was that located and all? And and what was the strap made of? Because if you can't make the strap out of like new synthetic leather, when they weren't using that in the 1920s and 30s to make those straps. So there's all these details. And I always tell people, if you think about it in terms of like what it takes to create a Concours winning vehicle, let's say you've got a vehicle that maybe is worth $2 million and you spent 500,000 or 400,000 restoring it to a level that you'd want to win. You might do that and you might have a 95-point car, and the person next to you might have a 98 or 99-point car in that same category, and they're going to win. And those last 5 points, that could take another $400,000, literally. The difference is, it's like so many things in life, right? The first part, getting to that thing, trying to lose the weight, and it's like, if you need to lose 30 or 40 pounds, the first 15 or 20 come off a lot easier than the last 5 or so. That's what it is like with cars. Getting them not just really good, but perfect, as you're describing, Paul, takes a whole nother level of expense and expertise that you have to pay for than just getting them really good.
And it doesn't have to be a multi-million-dollar car. You could have a Camaro or a Mustang or a Corvette or even a Ford Tempo, if that's what you wanted, and you wanted to restore it, you could do that. And you'd be surprised the cars that we're seeing these days that are coming out of the woodwork. Paul, you saw some MGs and all kinds of like pretty normal cars that weren't crazy expensive.
Yeah, and I think the great part about these concours is that it's an opportunity for any car to shine. We've seen cars that are less rare and less special win over some of the rarest things in the world just because there's a better attention to detail, and you could see the care and time that the owner put into it. And it's a great opportunity for people to go out and see, again, some of the most rarest, coolest things you've ever had the opportunity to see.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're going to take another quick break here, and we will be right back after a short commercial diversion from The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Welcome back to The Drive with Lauren and Karl. And this segment is brought to you by Karl Brauer Cars. If that sounds familiar, it's because it's my YouTube channel. On YouTube, I'm putting up at least a couple of videos a week on everything from a Lamborghini Temerario to a Nissan Leaf, everything and anything in between. And speaking of video and video channels on YouTube, we do have the Lauren and Karl, the Drive with Lauren and Karl video channel that Paul helps us edit and puts together these great visual elements. So if you're hearing this on the radio, we very much appreciate it. And if you'd like to see us and go beyond just the audio experience, please go to the Drive Car Show on YouTube. That's our channel. All right, guys, let's switch from visuals to maybe kind of theoreticals, as in, are we theoretically in big trouble now with enough oil for our needs, or are we going to look at a global shortage because of recent military conflicts in various parts of the world?
We're not going to have a shortage. No way.
Yeah, to me, it seems a little crazy when we're, as we're recording the show very shortly into this conflict, and this conflict's coming less than like a month. It seems like things move so quick right now politically. Yeah. Since we got a different, let's just say a different access level to Venezuelan oil for some reason. I think that's in a different place than it was just a month or more ago. And who knows where we're going to be, honestly, in another month or two in the Middle East with oil supply. But right. You guys give me your take on how we're looking for global oil.
Well, I think there's about less than 15% of the oil that we get comes from the Middle East. It used to be, but now we're drilling here. Part of it was the Gulf of America, changing the name from the Gulf of Mexico, which bypassed all the rules and regulations, which I thought was pretty smart, actually. We have all the Venezuelan oil coming in here, which we're selling to China. And the only place China was getting oil was from Iran. So it's impacting them. Saudi Arabia is still producing oil going through the Straits of Hormuz. I'm probably saying it wrong. One of those tongue twister words, but we're getting oil is coming through, oil is coming in, and President Trump has talked about, talking about removing federal gas taxes. If he does that, the price of gasoline will drop for everybody. That'd be great, especially if you use diesel like I do.
Yeah, I just filled up my car today, and 'cause I drive a diesel, it was $5.99, and I'm thinking, yes, I'm per gallon. There's some reactionary movements going on, and I think that when it comes to what the future actually looks like, people are going to jump before they even know what's going on, right. Because who's setting the price for the oil? Well, the gas stations are estimating that the next time they're going to buy a barrel, it's going to be that much more expensive, so they have to be able to recoup their cost before they even buy it, which is why the prices fluctuate at the gas tank or at the pump where you fill up. But as you guys have mentioned, we're not going to run out of gas. We have so much gas available to us. True. It's we don't even know where the bottom, quote unquote, is.
Is there a bottom? Yeah. Like the strategic oil preserves, which were emptied under the previous administration, have been refilled. And so if we needed to, which we don't, we have tons of oil available to us, stored underground, ready and available for consumers. But I think sometimes, just like anything, it's easy to raise the prices because it's a way to make profit. And it's not the gas stations. I think it's the distributors that fill those tanks. And so they're guessing in advance it'll be high. But my personal prediction is the prices will drop back down to where they were, maybe even lower.
I agree with you, and yeah, you're right. Funny how at the slightest whisper of a problem, the prices will go up, but at the slightest whisper of a problem solved, they don't necessarily come back down, because it's almost like we're going to plan on the price being higher, and worst case scenario, we got it wrong and we just had higher profit margin. Oh, well, so we know that's how these people, whether they're the distributors or the station owners or anyone in between, that's how they think. And that's how we end up paying more for gas every time there's, again, hey, somebody's mad at somebody on a certain quadrant of the planet. Better raise those oil prices right now. That's how
where the beautiful free market comes in, and people start cutting each other on the price, and eventually the consumer wins.
Exactly.
Well, we hope so.
That's what we want to see, at least. All right. Well, this has been a great episode. Paul, thank you for joining us. This is a lot of fun. You brought in a lot of cool perspective and history and cool stories of the history of car enthusiasm in your family. And we will be back with our next episode. But thank you for joining us again on The Drive with Lauren and Karl.
You've been listening to The Drive, your trusted source for the latest car news, expert reviews, and real insights into the automotive world. Thanks for riding along with us today. You can check out the entire archive of every episode on our YouTube channel, The Drive with Lauren and Karl. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode, and join the conversation by leaving your comments. We love hearing from you. Until next time, stay safe, enjoy the ride, and we'll see you right back here on The Drive.